Hey guys, let me start by just being as humble as I know how. This is Harper Hart. You're being humble, man. Guys, there's a lot of beautiful black folks out there, especially my young people. Hey, shout out to my young people. I always talk to y'all. Y'all been subscribing to my channel. Thank you very much. And I look forward to speaking with you and you being a part of um, pressing like and hearing my discourse. I look forward to giving you great and valuable discourse in terms of what's going on today in today's society and what we need to do and how we need to pick our paper up and how we need to stand and play ball and play chess with these white supremacists and how we need to be inside the business camaraderie. We need to be doing that and how we need to look for real and do like Nike. Just do it. Because that's a saying from Nike. Just do it. But it's definitely a principle of something. Just do it. So we got to just do it. When it come down to our politics, we got to just do it. And it ain't about voting Democrat. And I'm glad y'all out there, y'all know that. But I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on again. And this is going to be very interesting discussion that I'm going to discuss right now. Black people, again, we are in a very peculiar space. Again, we are a very peculiar people. And a lot of us know it and won't take advantage of it. A lot of us don't know it. Both of it's dangerous. Not knowing it is dangerous, and knowing it and not using it is very damn dangerous. Because you don't understand a lot of things as a black person coming from slavery that you probably should understand. And largely, you don't understand yourself, some of you, and who you are as a person, as a people linked to this blood lineage. You link to this group, you can do anything. It has been documented well with you how you've been able to do all these things and been such a lion and lioness about things. But you have not been compensated and protected in which how you in which way you stand, and also in which way you have been harmed, in how you exist. You have not been remembered properly, and that means for safety and for you to be safe and for you to grow in safety and grow in a protection by what you have deposited into, and that's the United States government and its society, a people, business, and social. You have not been able to, you have not been honored in the community or in society in the way which people are honored. And that speaks very loud. That speaks volumes. And right now, we in the heartbeat of something, the heartbeat of reparation discussion. And the only reason we're there is because people like me and the new voices of black media, all of us, been shouting over the internet and built a media apparatus for black people. And there's a lot of major thought leaders, a few of them, but not a whole lot. I take that back. Who have took up the baton and gained the traction of following and fellowshipping and teaching, scientifically teaching one another what to do and how to move in this particular situation, in this peculiar situation, which we're in as black people. And we're not talking about Jesse Jackson them thing or Al Sharpton them thing. We're talking about directly getting away from what they're doing with the tones of that they're shouting with as a form of fashion. They have been a form of fashion in terms of black life, black existence, black struggle. Al Sharpton has been a specimen even for white supremacy. He has been telling black people to go home sometime when there's a reason for black people to be at a major outcry. Remember? So there's a lot of times he's done that. They're paid and bought by the white supremacists. White supremacists run the society, and it's a government paid society that people live on in terms of wealth. And they have it. It's throttling in their communities, and to the point where they have ownership, even some, and they are very rich and powerful. And they will have entities upon entities and enterprise among enterprise, which will buy and pay you for your life support and your career status to live and to have bread and water. And this is what has happened to Al Sharpton. This is what has happened to black politicians. This is what has happened to our Supreme Court um, nominees. This is what has happened to John Lewis before he left. This is what has happened to the black community, to black society. This is how black self-preservation got distorted and dysfunctional, because you now as a black person have a career as a politician. You're not doing it as a divine order to serve the people in terms of what it means to be in that place. You as a dignitary. You're not just a person who worked for Ford Motor. You are a dignitary. That's something different. That's a historical anchor. You're supposed to be practicing self-preservation. You're supposed to be fighting for the people. And who are the people? Black people, we the people. And when we say you're supposed to be fighting for the people. Now, in terms of the way government exists, as a black person, you're up there to fight for black people. This is why you were put there largely in the beginning. This is why you're able to be there, is because they realized in the United States when laws got passed is that somebody need to be representing each person, each group, each person's, each lineage, each historical claim, each suffering. And in terms of black people, there are people put there that are not representing black suffering. They're living off of it. They talk about it in a cliche manner. They talk about it in a manner of a form of fashion. Every season there's a black problem. They come to speak to look good, or maybe there's an outcry. They jump on it a little bit, but they're not overseeing black issues where we are made winners and not contagion to wealth, not contagion to be a winner. Where we're made winners in the society as a people of prize, as a people that has conquered something, especially economics. And that's the most important thing. Because if you don't have food, you can't eat. And if you don't have money and economics, you can't eat. You can't have shelter. You can't have medical care. And if you don't have medical care, shelter, and food, then you die. And in the process of you dying, you're going to be angry and you're going to be in province, was adjacent to crime. So you're going to be a criminal. This is chess they're playing. So you, as a black person with black politicians, have been shaped and anchored as criminals, being forced into poverty and denied access to that which you've built. And that's the United States and the United States government, the fixture of the United States, the intelligence of the United States, with all the inventions and all the things that you have done as black politicians in your struggle. You have made the United States more government, and you don't access it. Other people do. So as the descendants of slaves, you have fought for more government, and you live and you exchange among and under a society that other people largely benefit from these actions and these wins that you were able to push for with your life and your blood sacrifice. This is what the epitome of slavery is. So now it's not just about physical work. It's also now about the fact that you're able to do intellectual work and work by expertise, and other people benefit. So the floor has been raised. You have the freedom of being an expert and a professional and getting paid only for your family, but not the freedom of being protected as a community. And that's what slavery was all the time. That's why you have overseers, because they can eat better than you. They get to whoop everybody as long as they mistreat the slave, as long as they mistreat the people at large among this lineage, among this anchor, whether it be slavery or descendants of slavery. So now, as a politician, as a black politician, you can be in your seat peacefully. By white society, you can be in your seat peacefully as long as you don't practice self-preservation. And that means you are denied to be a people largely, and you're denied your access as a community. You're denied liberty, which America was built to have off of your pain. So you're denied to reflect the protection of your community, children, families, and mothers. You are denied winning. You're told not to be a part of something that everybody else does. What's so different about you, black people? Now, does that ring a bell? You're not allowed to practice what people do for success in this country in terms of higher seats. You're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to go in and do what America do and the people of America and the people of America do to begin anchoring for the greater good. You're not allowed to be a part of wealth and safety. Wealth is safety. It's not about being luxurious. So you're not allowed to practice a wealth code. You're not allowed to practice a wealth exchange, an exchange of safety, which I just say wealth is safety. So you can't mirror the identity of the blood that run through your veins, but you can police people that you're connected to by blood lineage, and that means slave descendants. Well, see, this is not really surprising to me because I understand and I study the layout. Slavery worked. It worked in the United States. They didn't even know if it was going to work, but it did. So slavery itself was, we're going to trade people. No matter what they do and how they feel, they are going to be denied access to human rights. They're not human. We're going to say that they're subhuman and scientifically draw them up so that we begin to realize and understand and normalize we're not doing anything wrong. We're not hurting them because they're not human beings. They're slaves. They're made to be slaves, and they're happy slaves. So when they were freed, the first thing they did to a slave is to deny you the ability to change that bondage by denying access to something that frees you and that also kept you in bondage, which is wealth and economics. And that's why Dr. King was assassinated when he started talking about economics. He wasn't assassinated about the things he did. Dr. King was assassinated about the things that he was going to do or was in process of getting done. That when he was a real threat. And this is where we pick up the baton is where he left off. And people have marginalized black people, and you have Lioness, Dr. King's name now as a legacy of black people for other groups to now promote themselves, which are immigrants, and say that he fought for all people because he had a benevolent tone in terms of being a God-sent minister inside the church. And you got to understand the difference in these things and why in which I'm speaking this way because he changed his ideology and started looking more at the truth. Now, if you go looking, you will find. So Dr. King went to looking and he found. And he began to state to black people, I have led you into a burning house because you integrated and you thought that was freedom. Largely, that is not freedom. You went on the side and started mixing yourself with people who have more than you and who can exercise a practice over you, even harming you with impunity, with getting away with it. So you now don't have the economics, but you can now drink from this water fountain, go to this store, and you can do all these things where these people can now burn you out, beat you, get you bit by dogs because you're trying to be in their world which you did build and create for them, but you didn't think that you deserve a world that's adjacent to that, where now in the future you can begin to do business camaraderie because they have to respect power. You'll begin to be in power in which they are in, and they have to respect it, and they have no choice but to partner with you in terms of business and community and political strategy because now you are a people of power. That did not happen. You can't be a people of power if you want to go under folks and take their school books with their names in it. But I cannot say everything is wrong, however, about that, because in terms of slavery, it's very peculiar to be a slave. We're very peculiar. So in terms of that happening, what did happen is that we begin to see now how we were slaves and how we were not free because we didn't understand largely, and a lot of people didn't understand what it was and what it means to actually be a slave. They were just slaves. That's the whole purpose. That's the whole idea to do to a slave is to keep them ignorant in terms of how things truly exist. So they don't know. They don't know what slavery really is in every space. They knew it would hurt. They knew it was wrong. They knew it doesn't feel good, but they didn't know in every space or sector of exchange what has been taken away from them to keep them into slavery. So they subconsciously were existing in places that needed to be woke so that they can now benefit and prosper and progress as a people in society and United States liberty that is protected as a real people of the United States. Now, you can be a real people, but now we're supposed to be a real people of the United States. That's a different thing. Being a real people is a real people. People are people, but being a real people and persons of the United States is being protected by its liberty. And its liberty of freedom, its economics and protection. The United States is the most powerful government in the entire world. And black people built the country, largely. Black people suffered and died for it to be this. And you are not protected by it in terms of living in community that has not been inserted by white supremacy and war on drugs. You're living vulnerable because you never got economics. You never got the land. You never could partner in business camaraderie. You cannot be respected on those levels because you don't have it. You do not have any power sector in this country. And it's been strategically denied to you politically. The United States government failed black people. There's a crime has been committed. We are in litigation with our country way by constitution. This is very, very real. You have to understand this. You can't just go with this. And we got black people talking all kinds of ways. However, they have been largely anchored a certain way where they don't even have the talking points of a survivor or as a progressor or a revolutionary or somebody who's going to win. And they're speaking, and when they do talk, they're speaking as cavalier. They have nothing to worry about because they don't know that they're slaves. Harriet Tubman said it. I could free many more slaves if they only knew that they were slaves. You have to understand. You have to understand this. So we understand largely the woke community that we're in slavery and we serve in slavery, even if we're rich people, because we don't have the rights that a people have in terms of a community. You don't exist by yourself in society. And you don't get to opt out of politics. Politics is your life. So when you go around telling people you don't do politics and you're buying things at the store and you're working for a company that you don't own that's taking it out your check, you sound like a child. You don't understand. Politically, you were a slave. How can you tell me you don't do politics? But I can't really be angry at a lot of you because you don't know. And what society has done, and the United States has largely done, has turned black people into political neophytes. You don't understand politics. Your leaders were assassinated. You were driven away by fear tactics. So you don't mirror the same ideology as other groups, even. You think form of fashion, you think fashion, every trend. You're being used to design things as black people and think of things while other people capitalize because they have business camaraderie. They have ownership to something that you were denied. All because the United States sanctioned your death as a slave. It sanctioned your demise. The United States did. So when white people say I'm not racist, I don't owe you nothing, you sound like a 5-year-old child too, white people. Because you cannot say you're not racist, you don't own people. That's talking stupid. You're not looking at the chessboard. You're benefiting from everything that we had to suffer and we would never correct it. And you're walking in it. Whether you have hardship, whether you're on drugs, or whether your life has been bad, you as a white person, in terms of lineage, benefit from this. And for you to say that you're not a racist, when you're talking to people like me, I understand people can really be something. Racism is not a person. That is a way of which you are anchored in terms of what you can do to another group or a lesser group in terms of race. So you don't have to be racist right now. You can be my best friend, but if the police show up or a business deal come up and you want to practice racism, then you can do it because the United States have allowed you to have that option. This is where my lawsuit comes in. And it is systemic racism against me. Black people can be racist too, only against each other. Because you, as a black person, has been sanctioned to suffer from racism as a race. This is very simple, but we have largely been put away from it. And it's very interesting for me as I study this stuff to look at what largely society has done and what United States government has done to my people and my family and my blood legacy. We got people in our family right now that we cannot discuss. The woke community cannot even discuss this kind of stuff because the people in our family right now won't allow it. They will put you out their houses. They don't even realize it. And I'm shocked. I never thought I'd see this day. But we're getting somewhere. We are leading the narrative. We are the reason why Sheila Lee Jackson is talking about reparations. John Conyers put the study reparations in the effect in 1980. And they're just not picking it up. And everybody else getting reparations in front of us to live in this country freely and plentifully before their children and family. When we manipulated with the war on drugs, acting crazy and dysfunctional without having the protection of liberty and economic power, and being killed and shot dead by police officers unarmed and also shooting each other because being impoverished, and we have adopted a way of life that the United States shaped before us as a demise to us, and we think it's cool. I heard my cousins and brothers, they was talking about going gun shopping. I said, usually when people have respect to my gun shopping, they usually go because they want to hunt or they want, they are in some type of law enforcement. But they were speaking and stuff, and I'm like, well, who are you going to shoot? I don't see black people out here protecting themselves from this other group. Largely, they're killing each other in the community from the war on drugs and from bad music of what they allow black men to talk about as a struggle and was glorified with gold chains. You got to understand this thing here. This is a very sophisticated anchor and exchange, and I'm a part of it. And what you got to also understand is that black person and there's a black man mirroring this thing. To be reverberantly conscious as a black person is to be enraged because you're not conscious. Black people, slaves were not meant to be conscious. But now this is where you take a baton and you be free and you fight because freedom and power is not given. That's not how it happens with power and freedom. And scientifically designed to be taken because you have a self-preservation as a person. Nobody gives you that. That's given. Nobody gave us freedom. We had to fight for it. They ran into a stumble when the Civil War came in terms of business, and the slaves had to go to war in the South, and they were able to take over and begin the process of a newfound freedom. You're not truly free because I just named all those things I did about you being under America in terms of business, economics, industrially. The floor is raised. You are still in slavery because until you get the liberties of America, a formal apology for slavery, and a section of the United States government cut out for you solely for slavery and maybe even supposedly tax exempt. There are groups that are tax exempt inside the country, inside the society that black people suffer to build while black people still pay taxes. So largely your tax dollars is paying for another group historical sufferings when you are directly the one who suffered to build this country the worst. So you're paying taxes as a descendant of slavery to other groups who have been recognized as a people. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? You are still serving in terms of slavery by way of constitution economically. And Dr. King was not able to lead you in this sector because it was a threat to the United States and a threat to white supremacy, that we will stand beside them with the same type of power and honor as a people. There are people here that don't even belong in this country, got more money than white folks. I'm not talking about a person, I'm talking about a community. The Indians here, they got more money than white folks. The Asians, they are richer than white people. But white people have the land. You see, white supremacy is still here, and it chose to partner with other groups. But let me tell you something about a house uh, against itself. A house divided against itself won't stand. This is why America has its problems and chaos, because they're now choosing to go against themselves. We, as descendants of slaves, who are the greatest people that walk the planet and who invented everything that's beautiful, are part of a strong standing house, and it cannot be divided against itself. And you, as a person that benefit in America, and forefathers have harmed people to benefit in America, you cannot bite the hand that feeds you no longer. And we won't allow it. We're not asking you. And we're not saying to you, oh, it's going to hurt, and we warn. We are telling you that's what power is. I understand power. You understand this? So we are telling you, and black people and the slave descendants, you're not allowed to get up and practice to be an overseer and be quiet about our problems and give everything to everyone else and our tax dollars to Asians and East Indians for bills and crimes and so-called natives, and bringing immigrants in the country without looking at who we are and what happened to us in this country illegally. That's treasonous against black people. And you will be pulled down from your positions and your seats by our voices. Because let me tell you, and by our stance and by our movement, you know why? Because it's too sophisticated. The truth will put its pants on, and it will walk around. And we will be corrected. And we will be honored in this country in terms of inheritance and way of business with the banks. You understand? Cut the check.